small group. That's just the way it is. I think there's Mass in the cathedral as well. But it's probably not going to be very long, because it's the end of the syllabus that we will discuss or present to you today. For those who have been here before, it's the syllabus of Pope Pius IX against the liberal errors, against the errors of liberalism, socialism, and communism. So we're basically through. This is just the last part of it. And it is about errors now regarding the civil power of the sovereign pontiff of the Pope, and errors having reference to modern liberalism. So we'll see what this means. First of all, about the Pope. So, one idea or thought that is wrong, that has been condemned by the Church, is that to think that the children of the Christian and Catholic Church are divided amongst themselves about the compatibility of the temporal with the spiritual power. So, this means that it is wrong to think that the ecclesiastic power and the temporal power cannot harmonize. That there has to be a conflict. This is wrong. And also it's wrong to think that the Pope is not allowed to have any temporal civil power at all. I remind you that throughout all the Middle Ages, the popes were also heads of the state, were basically monarchs in a country. Patrimonium Petri in Italy. And at times it was quite big. And that is allowed, that is okay. It's even sometimes good, because at times the enemies of the Church are so great that they will also try to attack with militant force, with weapons. And then it was really helpful for the Pope to have an army to be head of the state and to be able to defend the Vatican and the Church and itself. But also it's allowed, and still today, even today, in the Vatican, Pope Francis is the head of state in the Vatican. He is a monarch in the Vatican. Still today. So it's not only, the spiritual power is, of course, that's his main duty. That's why he's there. But it's also allowed for the Pope, not necessarily allowed at times, to have temporal power. So it is. This can help the Church, and it is not necessary that whenever the Pope has such a power, that this is bad for the Catholic Church, for the faith. That is not necessary. Sometimes it can really help. For if let us think back in the times of Napoleon, when he attacked Rome in order to kidnap people. How is it safe? And that was only because the Pope didn't have a sufficient army to defend himself. That's why a foreign monarch could enter the Vatican with military force and just kidnap him. So, if he had been strong enough with the army, with the force, that couldn't have happened. So, that's just an example of history. Now, yes, please.
Actually, Andorra has two head of state. One, unfortunately, is Neitsi Maarja, and the other one is.
I don't think anybody disagrees with
is
that.
Is the Bishop of Barcelona.
Okay, see, so this is like for a bishop. This is a rare thing. It needs a special indulgence by the Pope to be also have a political office for a bishop. But it's possible the Pope can give him that dispensation, and then you can have temporal power to it. So it still exists on a smaller level today. Yeah. It can, of course, in the Middle Ages we have seen that there was a lot of political power on the side of bishops in the Middle Ages. And then this, of course, it can happen that the bishop forgets a little bit about the spiritual duties. It can happen. It did happen in certain periods. So, But it's not necessary, and we are speaking especially of the Pope and not of the Bishop. The Bishop is a little bit of a different question. For the bishops, it's quite good that they don't always have to be but the Pope, the head of the Church, for him, it can be useful. But it's one question, and discuss it. Now, some errors with reference to modern liberalism, the liberalism that we know today. So one of those errors is, now it's about things I want, it is very strange maybe to use that, not use itself. It is wrong to think that in the present day it is no longer expedient, necessary, that the Catholic religion should be held as the only religion of the state. The opposite, in the present day it is very expedient that the Catholic religion should be held as the only religion of the state to the exclusion of all other forms of worship. That is the teaching of the Church. That is the teaching of the Church. So it is, and that's really shocking, of course, for people who were here the first time. That is that the Church still, it is the teaching of the Church, that the countries and the states to God, an idea, not to be achieved by force, by permission, not by revolution, not to force people. That's not right. But working, remissionizing, working to that goal, and that's the teaching of the Church. And the opposite sentence has been condemned by the Church. So, if there is condemned, that is, not a person is condemned, but it's the Church condemns a wrong idea on the level of doctrine. The condemnation on the level of doctrine is a decision by the teaching of authority of the Church that a certain idea is clearly wrong. So that is what is meant by condemning. It's not about condemning anybody. It's about ideas. Right? Also, what the wrong idea is to say that it has been wisely decided by God in some Catholic countries that persons coming to reside there shall enjoy the public exercise of their own peculiar worship. So it is wrong to think that if there is a Catholic country and people come from who are not Catholic come there and want to let's say, for example, Muslims come to a Catholic country, if it existed, and came to a Catholic country and demanded to have a mosque and complete freedom of religion, and the Catholic teaching says that's not good. If it's a Catholic country, if it's a country where the Catholic religion is established, okay, there is the state religion. It's not good to allow other religions free public exercise. It's not about what these people do at their homes. That's not what it's about. It's about the public exercise, a mosque, and missionary work, and those things. So the Church says, no, it's not good. Because that way, more and more Catholics will get confused and lose their faith. As we see in modern Western countries today. In Germany, the Muslims, especially in the Rhine area, there's so many Muslims, and they do quite an aggressive missionary work. And I've heard by a Muslim who told me that was years ago, and now there are many more, that in Cologne there is a mosque where there's a new German convert every day, one per day. That is immense. One mosque, a new convert every day. And this is a Catholic region. This has been a completely Catholic region. So it's Catholics who become Muslims. So a liberal would say, oh, the Muslims do their thing and everybody do his thing. It's all good as long as we are nice to each other, but the church says it's not about nicety, it's about truth or error. It's about the question, is there a religion that can lead me to heaven or not? Is it only one or is it many that can do that? It's about those questions, not if those people are nice and have a good intention. That's not the question. Nobody is saying that these are evil people. Personally, these Muslims can have very good intentions. That's not the question. It's the question of, is this the true religion or not? Will this help the souls to go to heaven or not? That's the question. The church says, no. Those religions cannot, in themselves, lead you to heaven. They're not true religions. And that's why it's not allowed to tolerate that in a Catholic state, in a Catholic country. That is already Catholic. So also liberals will say, no, not at all. If you give freedom to every kind of religion, this will not corrupt the morals and minds of people. No, not at all. And it will not lead to the idea that all the religions are good. So that's exactly what it does. Liberals will say, no. Catholic liberals will say, no. That's why it's so important to talk about this, because these ideas that we're talking about right now, they have been introduced in the church in the Second Vatican Council. This is exactly these ideas that have been condemned before, that were then taught in the document of religious liberty. Exactly these things. Exactly, almost word by word, those sentences that have been condemned before, were then taught.
Yes. When was this second?
That was 1961 to 1964. The Second Vatican Council, it's a huge topic. Huge. I could give a whole catechesis about the Second Vatican Council. But what happened there is very complicated and catastrophic. It started out so it was just to short idea about this. It was prepared in a very normal way. The documents that were prepared for the council were very good documents. And then there was a little revolution during the council, and all the preparations, almost all the documents were simply put aside and replaced by liberal documents that had been prepared a long time before, and they were just taken out of the drawer and used. And these contained, now that's the problem was that there were new teachings in there that are sort of contradicting what was taught before. And that created a huge confusion in the church. Okay? And then the result of this confusion we see today, the chaos, basically. Chaos in the Catholic Church. Who really knows the Catholic teaching anymore? The result of this confusion of 1964. Last sentence, that is wrong. The Roman Pontiff, the Pope, can and should, very important, reconcile himself and come to terms with progress, liberalism, and modern civilization. So, this has been condemned. What is meant by this? This does not mean that the Pope cannot use a computer, that there can be no internet apostolate, and that we cannot adjust the means of missionizing to the modern situation. Not at all. The church does this. We do this. Look at this. I'm being recorded. That's not what is meant. It is about ideas and doctrines. It's about ideas of certain ideas of progress, liberalism, and modern civilization. And that's ideas we've been talking about the last sessions. All those ideas all those liberal and communist and socialist ideas. And this has been condemned by the church to believe the church must somehow find a compromise with those ideas. That's been condemned, right? With communism, with socialism, with the Freemasons, with their ideas. So, and again, this is exactly what happened during the Second Vatican Council and before. It is exactly this idea that theologians started thinking, maybe it is possible. Maybe we can reconcile liberalism with the Catholic teaching. And they started thinking, and that's how the Second Vatican Council was prepared upon this foundation. So they ignored the warnings and the condemnations of the magisterium of the church that were very clear, very, very clear. And did it actually. They started making compromise, finding a way to reconcile all those ideas with the Catholic doctrine. And the result was a mixture, or basically the result was the new theology, which is called the new theology. Nouvelle Theologie. That is the result of this attempt. So an incorporating of liberal ideas into the Catholic doctrine and trying to make it harmonize. And we saw that it didn't work because they had to give up some Catholic principles to do that. Some important principles. So, yeah, Cardinal Ratzinger, he said, when he was very active theologian in the council, and he was a father, Joseph Ratzinger. Then he said the document of religious freedom is, in a certain way, an anti-syllabus. An anti-syllabus. So he knew he had studied, he was a good theologian, he knew exactly the documents, he knew exactly the teaching of the church. He knew very well. And he said, what we have done now contradicts, openly said, contradicts the teaching of the church from before. Very thoroughly, anti-syllabus, he said. So they did it very consciously. So we arrived at the end of this catechism. I'm a little bit scared that at the end now we have a guest and that brings those difficult questions. Very difficult questions. But if there are questions arising, ask. Contact me. Ask. I think it is important that we know what we should believe, what the church wants us to believe, and what is the truth, what is the teaching of Christ, and what is not. And there is such a confusion in the church because people started thinking we have to find a way, we have to make a compromise, and they didn't believe in tradition anymore. That's the basis. The priests, theologians, prelates who started losing their confidence in the teaching of the church. They saw such a fast development in the world of philosophy, liberal philosophy, of technology, of science, and they thought that we cannot keep up with that. We have to somehow reconcile with all those ideas. We have to overcome the sins, and then we'll be up to date, so to speak. Aggiornamento of John the 23rd. Aggiornamento. This means bringing the church up to date, updating her, making her, exactly this. That is the idea, to reconcile with the present ideas, with what is in the heads right now. And that's why you will not hear, usually not hear from modern pulpits, usually do not hear any priest speak of a thing like error and truth, because that's exactly what they don't want. They don't want to make that distinction. They want to be reconciled. That's how they hope to get their churches full, to get people to come to this, because they think that way they're closer to their mindset. But they forget that yes, they're closer to their mindset, but they're not preaching them the supernatural truth anymore. So grace is not pulling the people anymore. So they invent all sorts of things to keep people come to Mass. All sorts of clown and carnival masses, and masses have to be shows during masses. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Lucky you haven't seen it. So. But why did they? Because they see now we've done so much, and people still don't come to Mass. So they go further and further. They try to techno masses. A cardinal in Austria, techno masses. A Cardinal Schönborn of Austria, an Archbishop of Vienna. He celebrates in the Cathedral of Vienna, a huge, old, beautiful cathedral, a techno mass. Loud techno music during the celebration of Holy Mass. Big bread, and then at the moment of consecration, there was a band playing loud music with guitars. And just recently, he's been celebrating masses for homosexuals. It's okay to pray for homosexuals, but he had homosexuals come up, preach, give an elocution, having them honored as homosexuals, and I think they received communion. We have to do a continuous aggiornamento. That's what these people think. We will lose the contact with the people if we don't adjust to their mindset. They don't believe in the power of the tradition, of the faith that has been handed down from the beginning through the ages until it has been proclaimed and taught in the church. They don't believe that this really can save souls. And that is what it is.
In percentages, how much of the church is like modern and how much is traditionalist?
That's different. There's like a huge variety. Let's say really traditionalist, like without compromise. That's that would be beautiful. 1% of how many Catholics are there? 2 million. 2 million? Yeah, it's like that. Like 2 or 3 billion. I think it's like 3 billion Catholics. At the moment, the Catholic religion is still the biggest religious group in the world. No, it's not. It's a Catholic religion, but 1% of those.
In the teaching church, the priests and the bishops.
Okay, yeah.
In this way.
It's similar. The percentage of those who have come to the point of rejecting all monism. That's probably in the Vatican less than 10%. If at all. I mean, even those prelates that are now very close to us, they still make at least some slight compromises. So if you want to know it very strictly, it's time. But if you give them a little more space and say, okay, very conservative, with a great love, appreciation for tradition, but themselves not so consequent yet, that's maybe. I couldn't give you numbers. Statistics. But it's really not many. But no, yes.
It's not many, but at the same time, the society of St. Pius X is the Catholic Church. And if you see the number of priests of the societies, they are not so few.
Well, then it's about 700 if you include society. Then it's about 700 priests and 3 or 4 bishops.
All over the world.
And if you count all faithful, it's about 2 million. It's about 2 million faithful. Which is not bad. I mean, for a little society like us. And of course, tradition is growing. So society is growing fast in many countries. The greatest example is Warsaw. At the moment, 2 years ago, they had 600 faithful in the priority. Now they have 1,200. In 2 years. because of Pope Francis, who is very openly against tradition. People realize it more clearly, and especially now they're going fast because of the COVID crisis. The bishops do not allow communion of the time anymore. And that has been allowed in common going till today. Believe it or not. COVID came, bishops took their chance, they cancelled it, and then so many people started coming to the societies of Pius X because they heard, oh, at that church, we still can receive communion. And now the priests have all a lot of work to catechize the people. Who have no idea about the tradition, they just come because of communion. The way communion is received. But there's still a great hope that already these people are sending their children to our schools, to our school in Boston. So these children will be taught from the beginning on the Catholic faith. So there's Bible. So we're growing, society, tradition is growing a lot. And also people like Bishop Schneider, who's very conservative, he sends people to us. He does not, maybe there are still some points that he's not completely with us, but very few. I think the only thing is that he celebrates sometimes, makes a compromise of celebrating most of us. And maybe maybe a difference in point of view concerning the vaccination. But these are not, I mean, these questions move everybody, but theologically, compared to the faith and everything else, it's a tiny bit. The question of vaccination, compared to what's at stake theologically, the faith, it's. But the question about mass is a little bit. But okay, nonetheless, this bishop, he sends people. If they ask what should we do, where can we go with the priests? Where can I go? Where can I live my faith, my priesthood? He sends them now to the Society of Pius X. He's been doing that for a while. And he does it more and more openly and with more esteem. The good people please come to us. So there is a growth. There is a growth of tradition, not only in society but in other groups too. Traditionalist groups. There is a growth. So there is a big hope. There is a big hope. And it's no small one, because in Rome the Pope still, or the Pope still thinks he has to forbid tradition. So if it was too tiny and absolutely meaningless, there would be no need to do that. No need to try to prohibit Latin Mass. It was a tiny.
Just a few years ago, there was a Muslim saying prayer in Mass during Mass. Traditionalists are like that. The Muslim in the church, it's okay.
Of course.
So
rabbis.
Makes people
It's a
realize.
novel thing. It's a political. Telling you, I don't know, maybe here in Estonia it's a little bit better because Bishop Fidelius not an extreme liberal. Whereas not an extreme liberal. It's not extreme liberal.
He said that the vaccine is not a drug like before.
Yes, of course, but that doesn't make him an extreme liberalist. Yes. So that's why he still has the idea of saving souls, of catechism, of having a sort of liturgical accuracy in his church, sort of, as far as I know. But in the West, like Germany, Switzerland, Austria, France, I guess, you won't believe the things that happen. It is incredible. You do not recognize the Catholic Church in the Masses. The worst, I think, is Switzerland. This tiny country, insignificant politically, that's why people don't know about it. But I think I lived there for 4 years, and I think that the ecclesiastic situation in Switzerland is even worse than in Italy. Even worse. So priests basically play no role. In Germany, at least, they are needed for consecration, but in Switzerland, as far as I know, sometimes priests. I'm not thinking about thinking into it, but it's completely normal that a woman leads the liturgy with the stole, all that stole,